Hello, I'm back again this afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. We had a scheduled interview, return guest actually. Trustabit CEO Saritta Hines will be joining us today to give us an update on her airline industry blockchain company. She's been on with us before, and when she was previously on, she shared a lot of information on her background and how she ended up in technology and in cryptocurrency specifically, as well as how in the midst of a very startup frenzied craze, she was able to start her cryptocurrency blockchain venture and the market that she's targeting in the airline industry. So as I wait for her, I just want to give some background information on Black people in cryptocurrency. You can find us on Facebook, and we're a group and also a page. The page is usually where I share some of these videos or announcements about upcoming interviews. The group pretty much runs itself, has about 10,700 members, with people posting off and on, mostly about what's going on in general in the crypto space, but also about what's going on in terms of some of their respective ventures. So if you happen to join, just definitely read the pin post. If you're a new member there, read the pin post. So that you're able to be kept abreast of the rules of the group. Now I'm going to just trek on over to my wall to make sure that this is shared to the group page. I'm actually broadcasting from my wall, but Sarita will chime in when she is available and we'll talk about her venture. So just give me a second. Hi Valerie, how are you? Those of you who know me well know that I have a number of different clients. I actually come from a web background and a print media background, and Valerie is owner of Cool Runnings restaurant in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I am working on some new menus for her. So it's good to see some of my other friends, client friends, joining in. I see you, Sarita. Give me 1 second. I just want to share to the Black People in Cryptocurrency group to make sure everyone's on the same page. 1 second. I started doing these from the wall and making them public, just a better way for other people to see it that aren't necessarily in the group. Because in terms of Saritta Hines' venture, it is something that benefits everyone, not just, if you fly in airplanes, you definitely want to know what some advancements are going to help customers. So just give me 1 second. Just want to title it CEO of Trustabit. Okay, so if you're in the Black People in Cryptocurrency group, you should be able to see it, or if you happen to be on my wall, you should be able to see it as well. So let's bring Sarita into the interview. So she should pop up in a minute. Hello, how are you, busy lady?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine. I'm doing fine. Took us over, I guess, good over a month to kind of arrange this, to get this going. I know I don't have it like side by side, so you can
Oh,
turn
okay.
it the other way. Turn your back the other way because I think
The
you
other
just,
way? Okay, there
yeah,
we
it's
go.
better. So I'm looking at my computer monitor and the phone at the same time.
Okay, I got you. I
Yeah,
got you.
so it's a little delayed on the actual computer, but for me it's a little faster. So we're
Okay.
not going to take for granted that people saw the first interview, although we have it on an archive of it on YouTube, on the Black People in Cryptocurrency YouTube channel. So can you
hmm
just give those who are watching and those who will tune in later an explanation of what Trustabit is?
Sure. So basically, we're a blockchain solution company for flight delays. Now, imagine if your flight was delayed and you could instantly receive compensation. So Trustabit uses blockchain technology to automatically issue compensation to passengers quickly, easily, and securely when their flights have been delayed.
Okay, so when we first talked a while ago, some of the information that you gave us about your company was that it was based you're based in Los Angeles, correct?
Correct.
And that you pretty much use a lot of LinkedIn and a lot of resources to kind of find this team to try to build out this solution that you wanted to provide to customers. And at that time, you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is still the case, one of the reasons why Trustabit was launched because the European Union had a law that specifically stated that European air flight travelers had a right to compensation for delayed and canceled flights. Is that still your target market, or has it broadened? What is the scope of the immediate target market for Trustabit?
It's broadened. So that was the initial market. But then as we started to do more research, we started to find out that 27% of airline revenue comes from business class passengers alone. So then we started to figure out, well, okay, that's a lot of revenue that comes from business class passengers. So then we started to figure out that they put a lot of money into keeping high value passengers loyal. So we said, well, okay, well, we can figure out a way to put our system into the US and to other markets that don't have to follow the regulation that you just mentioned. So now let's focus on loyalty. So now we can use our system as a perk, is for loyalty. So now we can use that to target that 27% of the passengers that are in business class. So now we can use it as a loyalty perk as well.
Awesome. So what type of, since we last talked, were there any business development relationships with the airline industry or airlines that you've made since then, or any type of contacts that you'd like to share?
Yes, so we did manage to get a strategic partnership with IATA, and that's the International Air Transport Association. So that's like an association of 281 airlines. So that allows us directly to be able to present our solution to the key decision makers. So now we're in the passenger experience arm of that. So now we'll be able to go directly to those meetings where so like if you go to like San Francisco airport and they have this new thing called it's called Clear. So now if you go through, you can like put your fingerprint through there, and now it's quicker than going through the other lines where I think it's like the known passenger line where
Yeah, the
you can
fast
just
pass type thing where you kind of
yeah.
register it. Yeah, I've done that before. Okay.
Yep. So now this is just another way. So that's how those companies get through there. They get through in an organization like IATA, where say, well, okay, now it's just another passenger experience, something that you would be able to, that's how you get to be able to present those ideas to those key decision makers.
Okay. So what has happened? When we first talked, you were heading into an ICO. What happened with that, and what stage are you now?
So during that ICO, we learned a lot. So that was during like February, and as you know, that was like during like the bearish market. So it was just during a downturn, and we saw that we weren't getting a lot of traction with that, and then our marketing. We weren't doing a lot of marketing with that. So it's like, well, okay, let's just refund everybody their money back, and we're just going to start over and just work more on the partnerships, because a lot of people were telling us like, hey, are you partnered with anyone? And it's like, no, we're not. And that kind of just had like a negative effect. So it's like, well, okay, we're going to take your feedback. We're going to give you your money back, but we're still going to keep developing, which we did. So we still were developing, and you can see that at app.trustabit.io. So we refunded everybody's money back. We worked on our partnerships. And then it's like, well, okay, let's reboot this. And now we rebooted it and went through Start Engine. And then another issue that a lot of our investors were having is that they were saying, well, are you a security token? Well, no, we weren't. I said, well, are you concerned about the SEC? Yes, we are. Well, how do you know they're not going to come for you? Well, we don't know that. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
okay. So a lot of people turned away from us. Like a lot of big investors turned away from us because of that. So we were looking for ways, well, how do we make sure that we are SEC compliant? And we looked at Start Engine. So that was one of the ways to make sure that we were SEC compliant.
Now, what is
So
Start Engine?
Start Engine is like, it's a platform, a regulation platform that President Obama started. So
Hmm.
it's a regulation crowdfunding platform that you can go through and be SEC compliant. So now we have a security token offering on their platform.
And when did that launch, and how can people find it?
Let's see. I am going to put the link right now. There it is, right there. That launched. Yep, Blair just put it as well. That launched May 25th.
Okay.
And the good thing about that is that people can go there and see complete details about our offering. It's not in like boilerplate language. It's actually like in my language. It's easy to understand. It has all of our terms, what our token gets. And actually, you're investing, you get equity within our company as well. So it's not just you buy a token and you can go exchange it on the market. You can do that as well, but you'll also get equity within our company as well. So when we do good, you do good.
Okay, and so tell us a little something more about your team. I see Blair White is commenting below, but give some people some perspective on the team that you have that's been working on this.
Yep. So we added a development house as well. They just signed on from us, and they're in India. It's about five of them, and they have a specialty in Hyperledger Fabric, which is hard to find. So that's a good thing as well, and we're really excited about that. We added a couple of advisors as well, and they believe in our project. And we're actually going after some advisors that's specific in the airline industry as well, in the loyalty department. So we're pretty excited about that too.
What's the climate like? Because I was scanning your Twitter page yesterday, and I see you're doing a lot of different events and things like that. So what's the climate like in the West Coast on how Trustabit or just blockchain companies in general are being received in this kind of down market?
It's starting to pick up, especially say more like travel tech. That's where we get like a lot of traction. Just it's real niche, so we're starting to pick up within that group. Like I say, like travel tech com, we get like a lot of like traction within those groups. So recently, like I did like a commercial for Microsoft specifically. So we're starting to get like some traction like within their community as well, which is going to be really big. So we're excited about that. So I would say it's slowly starting to pick up. People are starting to see that we're serious about it and that we've been here doing it like, since really July timeframe, and we're not going anywhere. So I mean, at first it was tough because people were seeing that, well, we don't know. Maybe they'll be here and maybe they won't, but we've been here slowly ticking away at it. So people are starting to write more articles about us, and it's starting to pick up. And it's like, well, even like the VCs, like, at first it was just like ignore. And now it's like, well, they're starting to like tweets, and then they're starting to retweet it. And then here come the emails. So it's slowly starting to pick up.
Well, so what happened with Microsoft? You said that they did something, a shot a commercial or something?
They did. So that was pretty cool. What happened was they sent the email in the LA area and said, "Hey, we're looking for African American small business owners who use Microsoft products." So I replied back, and then the next day they said, "Well, can you come down and audition?" Sure, I'm available. So I came down, and then I got an email and said, "Well, okay, we want to cast you for the commercial." And I'm like, "Well, great." And then like maybe a week later, they shot the commercial, and like this they rented out like this it looked like a little small or like a big warehouse, and they just fit it out to look like it was a like a startup, and they
Okay.
had like some extras. And so I used like Dell, Lenovo, and HP. And they like I was using their products like Azure and BitLocker and a couple more. But then I also got to talk about Trustabit, and like they showed Trustabit on the screen. I got to say, talk about Trustabit and talk about just give a couple lines, like I said, what it did, like blockchain technology and how it used for flight delays. So I was pretty excited about that. So they're going to hopefully run it in the summertime. So that's just more exposure for it. It was free. So that was perfect.
Yeah, yeah, that's a win.
Yes, that's a win.
So I noticed that you've been on a number of, I can't remember what it was. I thought I saw something yesterday where you were part of a women's group or a panel there was a photograph on your Twitter page. Man, I should have looked at it right before the call. But can you explain what that was about? I don't know if it was, I don't think it was a pitch, but it was some type of panel. There's a group photo that you're in.
Was it gosh,
Man, I should
oh,
have looked at it. And I
it
was,
was Women in Blockchain, Gals Network. Yes.
I was like, look, it's a group shot.
Yeah. Yes, that was a group in San Francisco, and they were just like testing the waters here in LA to just to test the market to see if they wanted to keep coming up here to do some women in blockchain, and it was pretty good. I like doing it, and it was like a panel of us, and I like doing stuff for women in blockchain. That's like pretty much like my passion, and also the younger generation and teaching them about STEM. So any event like that, I'm all over it. So I was just glad to be a part of it.
And how can people reach out to? I know another question I wanted to ask before I get out to
Hmm.
that. Has anything changed in terms of your use of bounty hunters? I mean, has that relationship type changed? Because I think I first learned of bounty hunters.
Yes.
So explain what bounty hunters was, what
Yes.
is, and then explain if anything has changed in relationship for tech cryptocurrency companies using them.
Yes. I don't use bounty hunters anymore.
Oh, uh,
Yeah, I am into growth hackers. So,
oh, new term, new vocabulary. What's the
new
growth hacker?
term. Because I think growth hackers spend I think they're more personable, and they care more about your product, your project, and they're not just bringing just bots or just people who are just trying to fill up your project just to boast it with numbers. And
Okay.
it's just a learning game. Like, I mean, I hope I won't
Let's
say
back up a
like it.
bit. Let's back up a
Okay.
bit for the new people. What is a
Okay.
bounty hunter and what is a growth hacker?
Okay. Um, I think a bounty hunter is just someone who's going to bring the hype to your project and just for a short time. I think a growth hacker is the new marketing department. So the growth hacker is going to be with your company for as long as your company is going to be around. That's the new marketing department.
Okay.
And they're going to grow your community. They're going to know how to get your customer, and they're going to pretty much stay with your company for the whole time. They're going to
Okay.
know how to they're I guess how you would say it is they're the marketing department for startups. So they don't have like what for a regular company, marketing will say, well, oh, it may take like maybe 4 or 5 months before we see results. Startups don't have that. I need to see results in like maybe 1 to 2 months. So that's what a growth hacker would do. They would, so for example, how Airbnb, how they growth hack, they listed their listings for like for their open beds on their website as well as Craigslist. So that's a growth hack. So
Okay.
it's just a different way on how to bring users onto your platform.
So the growth hackers, how do you find them or do they find you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become my best friend.
It's been a commercial for
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Sorry, Facebook, but
Yeah,
it's
sorry,
LinkedIn.
Facebook. It's LinkedIn. And it's like, if you're professional and you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I almost don't believe you exist.
Mm, well,
Hmm.
that's what we use. That's kind of what I used to evaluate y'all. When Blair was contacting me, I was
Yeah.
like, trust the
I
who,
told
trust the where. Oh, look at all those LinkedIn link pages from their
her.
website. They're real people.
They real people. Yeah.
It helps.
I was like, Blair,
It,
fix that LinkedIn profile.
and it was so funny one time. I was talking to someone about, and I wasn't on LinkedIn. I think I was probably inboxing on Facebook. And as we're talking, and I'm talking about what I do, what I do, what I do. The person was, can you send me your LinkedIn? I was like, sure. And then after I said that, the conversation continued because they were like, huh, what? Because I don't actually have everything in the Facebook profile and
Uh-huh.
stuff. And so I was talking
Hmm.
about something that kind of wasn't even there. And I was like, oh, yeah, it is on my LinkedIn page and kind of verified by other people. So you can go look there. So it's a
Yes,
perfect find.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to share? Because I definitely want to share how. Oh, do have another question because
Yeah, yeah,
you
sure.
on the West Coast. Um, how has it been, and this might not relate directly to your blockchain, but just in general, how has it been in terms of outreach to, you know, wealthy Black people in terms of investing in or interest in blockchain or cryptocurrency? Do you see any of them milling around, or does it just seem like, well, I got to go where the money is? Because I have my opinion, but I would like to have your opinion.
Mm.
Are they
That's kitchen
absent? Are they
talk.
disappearing? Are they not getting? Do we have to do a better job with education? What's the general feel right now?
I haven't run across that. Like, I don't know any wealthy black any like to that level. I don't know any like seven-figure wealthy black folk yet. And I mean, I want to start that's actually my goal is to start meeting like those high net worth black folk to start, letting them know about Trustabit to say, hey, like, are you interested? Then I can like better gauge it to say like if they're interested or if they think I'm just another person trying to sell them like a car wash business. So
Right.
I don't know yet. I mean, I hope they be receptive and to see like what I have going on. I haven't ran across them yet, and maybe it's me not knowing like where those circles are yet. Just because I'm so like into tech, and it's not. I mean, in tech, it's not really that many of us anyway. So I need to
Right.
like step out of that and try to get into those circles, and maybe it's those entertainment circles that I need to get into. But I don't know where those circles are in LA into how to be able to get into it. Because LA is a whole different monster itself when you're trying to get into like that entertainment circle. So if anybody out there that knows how to get me into those circles to even have those
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
But
Because
what
I
what are
think
your thoughts on it?
my thoughts are the access has always been difficult and unusually difficult. When you
Hmm.
sit back and you see whether it's athlete or actor or musician, and you see them coming out with things that are outside of their brand and
Hmm.
these
Mm-hmm.
business opportunities, and we're not there. And we saw this happen with the .com world, which was why I'm concerned and which is why I brought that question to the table. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully someone's watching and can share this video with a friend or with a friend who knows XYZ. The reason why I say that, we totally missed the boat in the .com area. There was
Yes.
all that black nerd world. I think the most noted person was Omar Warshaw, and that was great for him, and that was great for Black Planet and Asian Avenue and all the
Mm-hmm.
videos he started. But we missed the boat with Alan Emtaj. And if you don't know that,
No,
you
who
know,
is that?
Emtaj, Alan Emtaj was the first person to create a search engine. He created Archie search engine before the web, before there was a web version of a search engine, before there's Alta Vista. So when web came about and they started to create search engines, such as even before Yahoo, Alta Vista, Ask Jeeves, or whatever, they went to Alan because they didn't know what to do. And so Alan is, he's Canadian, Afro-Canadian, part family from Barbados. I think father is white from Canadian. I
Mm-hmm.
think the last time I checked, he's a photographer somewhere. Then we
Mm.
missed the boat with John Henry Thompson, who was the chief scientist of Macromedia. He developed Lingo, which was the script that makes what we're doing possible, makes computerized video, period. Now, how you go
Wow.
scientist of Macromedia, now granted, he would go off into like charter school education. Actually, he's one of the few people I actually met, and he was heavily into education. But you missed the boat with that person as well. Or when Emmett McHenry decided to sell Network Solutions. I mean, he's the reason why we do .com names and not IP addresses. So I see
Really?
interviewing people like you, interviewing other people that we interviewed. The Black Nerd Group is there, whether you're an individual at a company or you started a company that is, mixed ancestry, or you started at client. And again, it seems like we're repeating, unfortunately, the same trend. And then the celebrities and stuff will come around and they'll come up with, a whole venture that they're supporting, and there's all white people there. It's like, well, how did you miss this boat and
How?
not
Yeah.
tap into the black nerd elite? and say,
Mm-hmm.
look, just pitch me, and talk. And I'm fearful that we're repeating that engine again. So that's why I wanted to know, as a CEO, is anybody coming knocking on your door? And I guess it's our responsibility too, those of us who are watching the video, to share behind the scenes and let people know and start inboxing people, because there's a wealth of people I've got people that I haven't even interviewed yet from Nigeria and other places, a wealth of straight up tech nerds that just know the content and know the space, and we're lingering and floundering where other
Hmm.
things will go off, and you just don't build wealth that way. So I was hoping we can still keep hope alive. We can
And
maybe
please.
bridge that education gap, but I hate to see this go the same way that is good. There's so many fundamental people. The most annoying commercial, unfortunately, that I've ever seen was the one, I think it was Apple that had it a few years ago, and it showed all the innovators in so-called web technology, and there wasn't a black face, and I'm sitting there cringing, saying, I know who the initial developer, and it was for there to be that few of us, but to make that instrumental, and
Mm-hmm.
for me to
Mm-hmm.
know that internet video would not be possible without a black man. For me to know there would be no search engines for a black man. For me to know if there wouldn't be any type of, we would be typing IP addresses instead of .com names because of someone. And all the ones that did have companies like Emma McHenry, even he should have been able to sell to an Oprah or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
there, to be not be heard and not be seen for what you can do kind of promotes this digital divide myth. And I see that we're always here, whether it's yourself, whether it's people that definitely preceded me, such as Eduardo
Mm-hmm.
Jackson with Blacks and Bitcoin, and other people. And he's got a venture of his own that actually targets the celebrity community. We have to be seen and we have to be heard and be brought forth, and then build these type of networks. So I will hope and continue. My very last question for you is, how can viewers who are there, how can they reach you? Because I don't want it to make it seem like this is a show. And,
Yeah.
you and I are not even connected on Facebook. I meant to remedy that, but I just didn't send a request. But I don't
Oh,
want people to
I'm about to
think
do
that
that
this
right
is a
now.
show,
I
it's a
thought we
performance.
were. Here we
It is
go.
on TV show. You'll have to hear from her again till I bring her on, because you don't know her. People need to be able to know
Uh-huh.
that are accessible. So what is the best way that our viewers to contact you if they, maybe have some contacts for you or something of that nature to help trust a bit?
I am going to put it right here. The best way is Sarita at trustabit.io.
Okay.
Trustabit. That is
And
the quickest way.
anybody
So,
who's, we're going to wait a few seconds, anybody who's on here that have a few questions, I don't know if anybody is still, some of the people are still watching. I see you, Fitzgerald Melville from Trinidad and Tobago, and I know you have a computer science background. You better contact Caribbean Airways.
yes.
You want
And
to
I'm
know,
always
I see
open. Like if you,
Mohammed El Sarid from Sudan. I got like an international fan base, but
I
anyway,
love it.
well, actually, you should say friend and family base than anything else. But if anybody had any specific questions that they're confused, just to recap for those that tuned in late,
Hmm.
Trustabit is a blockchain company, and I know that's kind of vague for people if you don't know what blockchain is, but basically, she has a computerized way in which people can be compensated nearly immediately if their flights are canceled or delayed.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and it's verifiable. It's not something that you would necessarily need human interaction to make that possible to us.
Yes, we
So
are
lots of
definitely
hearts,
trying to make this a
lots,
standard.
lots of thumbs up. I know
Hmm.
it's early in the afternoon and people are working on Fridays, or they took a weekend getaway.
Took a
But
weekend
hopefully,
getaway.
sometimes that happens on Fridays. They like to do it during the week, but I didn't have any choice this
Hmm.
particular time. Things are getting busy.
Oh,
But
no
so
problem. That's a good
I know
thing.
I see your question. You're always welcome. So glad you inboxed me and said, "Oh, got some new stuff to share."
Yes, thank you for
Definitely.
having me. Yes,
Do
definitely.
me a favor. The time that you said you were going to send the information, the URL, I haven't seen it posted. I don't know. Maybe it's just my thread. You could post it one more time that you're going to
Yep,
say about the ICO. Just write the URL because I see your email address, but I never saw the other one.
there you
The other
go.
one posted. I know it takes a few seconds of a delay.
There you go. But definitely, I use that. I talk about HTTP protocols and how no one knew what that was, and all they knew was just, when I went on the internet, I just wanted to look at cat videos. Like I kind of use that when I'm explaining blockchain, but now I'm going to tie that into actually the person who made that kind of like disappear, because that's, I really like to tie into like Black history into um and into like how like I'm talking with tech. So thank you for bringing that up. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never knew that. So it's
I'll share
it's good
some.
history.
There's probably something I threw up on Quora a long time ago as a response to the question. Although if you go to Quora, most of my stuff is about ancient Egypt. But
Hmm.
I originally used to go to Quora because I was, a web development person. And if you wanted to see reviews of some software that people didn't really use, you went to Quora to kind of look at the question and answers, the plus and minuses of how something worked. And
Hmm.
someone had very early when I first started writing for Quora, they had posted something about, either the question was why aren't African Americans in tech, and I just kind of like, and most of my stuff I knew from my co-admin Bob Ponce, kind of how we met. Bob was
Hmm.
president of the World Wide Web Artists Consortium, which was it's called WAC, and it's in New York, and he was the second president. And
Hmm.
WAC is like the epitome of developers and programmers. So not only was he like the sole Black person when you went to a WAC meeting, there was like maybe two. There was Omar Warshaw, him, and a mutual friend of ours, the late Evelyn Archer. And then
Mm-hmm.
everybody, all the other 150 people were primarily male with ponytails, older of different ages. And but even before I first went to my first WAC meeting, he had a podcast, Silicon Alley Radio, and he was doing interviews, and he was doing across the board, didn't matter, your ethnicity.
Hmm.
And I believe he interviewed Alan Emtage, and he was talking to him, and as he was talking to him, he was like, after it was all done, he was like, "Wait a minute, are you Black?" Because it was all audio. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm Black." I was like, "Oh my goodness," So I was learning of a lot of these background people. I think he was the one that introduced me to John Henry Thompson, also as well
Hmm.
at another event some many years ago. But he's like, you'd be surprised because you don't really see people. You talk to them on the phone, you know them by name. You'd be surprised. And at that time point in history, a lot of times they were like the only ones like by themselves, but they were very instrumental in what
And
they
that's
did. So
Alan Emtage.
Alan is, let me
Hmm.
spell. I think it's ALAN or ALLAN, and it's EMTAGE. Last time I checked, a very long time ago, years
Hmm.
ago, he's a photographer,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he moved back to Canada. I don't know if he grew up in Canada. I know one parent is Bayesian and one parent is, um, yeah, you can find a Wikipedia on him, ALAN, and the last name is EMTAGE. And the reason why the first search engine was called Archie is because he misspelled archive.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and I guess his father is a sir too, Sir Stephen and Lady Emtage.
This is wonderful. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
but a lot of people kind of behind the scenes, and you're kind of like, these are people that we should know off the tip of our
Hmm.
tongue. We did Mark Andreessen or Tim Berners-Lee or Steve Jobs, and I just know that even the .com that I worked at the time, I was like their first hire. I was basically hired because I could spell the. I was a journalism background, but I didn't know HTML. Web Girls,
Uh-huh.
that organization. I did take some classes, and I was writing about technology. But even when I was working there, as the company went from 12 to at least 250 on the New York side, even when I would refer people, unfortunately, that I knew were more than qualified, a lot of times they weren't hired.
Mm,
And it's
mm-hmm,
very disheartening for me. And I always felt that if they had other candidates, they probably wouldn't have hired me.
mm,
And it's
mm-hmm.
not based on personality or nastiness or whatever. It's just the way that it is. It
The way that it
becomes
is.
male if it's the male company, and what's really funny is one of my good friends there. Her name is Anna and Altman now. She's she had left and went to MTV and other places. One time we had a Japanese film crew that was going to the Globe 2Com, and they were videoing, and they kind of videoed everybody, which was very odd because when we had CNN and MSNBC, they would focus on the males in the office and
Mm, mm-hmm,
circumvent us, even though we were heading our departments. So at that
hmm.
time, I was like the lead executive producer, and anybody else was a producer was under me if we didn't have a manager. Eventually, I
Mm-hmm.
become production manager, and she was in like customer service, and there wasn't a head of customer service. So I remember one time a film crew was panning and coming through, and I was in my world. I'm in my world, and I'm saying, "Wow, they're really another crew again avoiding me because I'm black. They must think I'm a secretary." But
Oh,
they're
they must.
asking people who are under me questions about what they do and videoing,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on, she turns to me and she says, "You notice how they ignored all the women? There's only like 3 women here. They didn't film any of us." So I knew there's a broader
Uh-huh.
issue than that because she
Mm-hmm.
was the only, at that time, the only person handling all the customer service. She's like, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
even bother. So they just automatically assume a certain thing without
Mm-hmm.
answering the questions. But what was really interesting was when the Japanese crew, and they're over everybody's shoulder because to them, we were all a bunch of foreigners. And let's
To
get into
them,
this
right?
this
Yes.
dot com
Mm-hmm.
world. So it's unfortunate. So I'm hoping that things will change this go around, which is why we do the interviews that we do. We're kind of selective of who we talk to. Talk to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people behind the scenes, but we definitely like to have people who have a technology background talk about what they're doing, even if they're playing a role within an existing larger company or they're leading their own, so that Sarita Hines becomes a name that rolls off of people's tongue. Oh yeah, she was the CEO of XYZ, and she wasn't a CEO just because she was a token woman, token black woman. She was CEO because she knows what she's doing, and she's innovating in the field that she's innovating in. So that's what we hope
Appreciate
for
that.
in
Yes.
the future. You know
Yes.
want to
Mm-hmm.
take any more of your time, definitely keep in touch. The
Thank
contact
you.
information is out there. And thanks
Mm-hmm.
again for joining us on Black People in Cryptocurrency.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Thank you. You have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Okay. Goodbye.